Hello my friends, this is umonox. In today's video I want to continue to speak about those new additions that we got with the recent Tonverk OS 1.3.0. Now, just 2 days ago I made a whole video about the Wavefinder, which is the new machine that came to this OS. Now the link should come up in the top right corner if you're interested, and it's also in the description. But while this machine is probably the biggest part of that update, it's not everything that was coming to the Tonverk with this update. Now, a lot of that other stuff that came to it, I would probably consider it to be some kind of a quality of life update thing. There are many things coming to the Tonverk, and in particular I want to speak about these new choke groups that we have for the subtracks right now, as well as the page loops that we have available for our longer patterns, and also some things about generally how we set up our pages now, which is a little bit different to how it was before, and things like the mute preparations that we have available, and some miscellaneous stuff, you know, just a little bit. Now, first things first, I won't talk about the arpeggiator changes that were also coming to that update, because I didn't have a chance to for roughly test them out. But I do want to tell you something about the choke groups for the subtracks that we have, and this is something quite important that we have to consider when working with these. So there's a little bit to cover now, and I would say let's get started. Okay, first things first, I want to start with these new choke groups for the subtracks on the Tonverk. And if you are already familiar with those and know how they work, you should probably skip to the section where I speak about the special behavior of these things, in case you are interested and do not know that already. But if not, let's talk a little bit about what choke groups actually are. Now, choke groups are a way of putting tracks into a group that basically mute each other when they are triggering at the same place. This is typically used for things like an open hi-hat that mutes away closed hi-hats in the background and stuff like that. But it can also be used for things like muting toms in and out and everything, depending on how your sequence is, and I will show you an example of that later on. But first, let's have a look at how we set these up and how those work in general. Now, I have a pattern prepared for you already with just a couple of few very simple sounds. Let's listen to them. That's basically what we are working with right now. And to get those things started, we should probably enter a pattern, right? So let's quickly do a pattern for the kick drum right here. Let's take that kind of shakery thing that I want to use as some sort of a closed hi-hat thing, and do just that. And now just take an open hi-hat and set the track the triggers appropriately. And now have a listen to how that sounds straight out of the box now. Now everything is just played back normally at the same time, right? Watch what happens when we are using the choke groups. Now, this is available when we hit function and trick key to get into the track configuration menu. We have to show the choke groups in here. And now comes the point. Here we have a menu where we can set those things up, and we can have multiple tracks within the same choke group. But first, let's focus on those two right now. So the first choke group is indicated by those blue LEDs, because we can have two choke groups at the same time. So we have group B and group A, and now we have them off. So the way you put them in is you tap them first. Now they are in group A. You tap them a second time. Now they are in group B, and you tap them a third time, and they are not inside the choke group again. So let's quickly have a listen to how it sounds without the choke groups again. And now with the choke group. You can hear the difference, right? This is without, and this is with. Now both tracks are muting each other when their triggers are in the same spot in the sequencer, and this is apparent because we have the trigger for that hi-hat here, 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 and here. And on that track, we have triggers all over the place. I just did it like this right now to show you how that works more easily, you know. So this is how these choke groups work. And we can add more than just two tracks into a choke group. We can actually select a lot of those, as you can see, and swap them around like that. So on that track right here, I have a third hi-hat, a third open hi-hat of some sort, and let's actually put a trigger in for those, for that one. And maybe let's do it like that, just a little bit offbeat, you know. And first, again, let's have a listen to how that sounds without these choke groups active. Oh, it's muted, I guess. Yeah. Totally simple. Doesn't even sound good, but it should show you how it works only. So when we put those into the same choke group now, have a listen to how it sounds now. You can see how we just mute them away, you know, like that. So that's basically a way how we can use choke groups to make sure that the triggers of the tracks that are inside the choke group don't overlap, so that they are not sounding at the same time. And apparently this is mostly used for hi-hats and stuff like that. I mean, that example right now is just a quick rundown. It's nothing very special, but it should give you an idea. We can, however, also use these choke groups for rhythmic things, and when we have two sounds like those here, some kind of weird toms, and I want to have some, maybe I want to have some kind of a repetitive pattern for those, which is basically the same. So let's do the same thing again. This will be quite clear in a moment. I will just make the sequencer a little bit shorter right now, which is for the pattern, to actually have it easier to set up these steps right now, because I put some steps in, but I want to do some probabilities here so that they are not coming in the same time. Now I just copy the step and paste it here. And I do the same thing on the other subtrack as well. And that should lead to a rhythm. Let's first mute all these here. That should lead to a rhythm that is already a little bit different each time this little pattern repeats. Let's have a listen. Very simple stuff, you know. When we have a close look, we can sometimes see that we are... Have you seen that? We can sometimes see that they still hit at the same time, sometimes, with these probabilities and everything. And to make sure that we only have one tom or the other, we can also put those into a choke group to make sure that this is working as well. So let's put those into a choke group. And now the repetitive pattern would make sure that they are not sounding at the same time. Yeah, you've probably seen it. They are not triggered at the same time. Yeah, and that's just the way that this is working, and something we can use that for as well. Okay, at this point, I quickly want to pause the video because while recording it, I forgot to mention something important about these choke groups in the first place. And this is, once we are not inside the configuration screen for those choke groups anymore, there is no visual indication of which tracks belong to which choke group and which do not belong to a choke group at all. So you can see there is no indication on the actual tracks and also no indication on screen. And I really think that Elektron has to actually solve that in a future update, because the way it is right now, we will have to remember which tracks we have put into a choke group, and this can become a little bit tedious, because it's easy to forget that, you know. Okay, so that was something that I forgot to mention and just wanted to point it out. Let's move on. Okay, so now that we had a look at how these choke groups work and everything, and how they can be used, I want to show you the thing that we need to take care about when using these things. So now, those tracks when they are muting each other, they are following, by the looks of it, they are following a certain order in how they mute each other. So it's like if we would swap these tracks out. Let's do that real quick. I just take those out again and just clear the I've cleared the choke group instead. Well, just quickly wanted to clear these sequences here so that we don't hear those anymore. Let's go to those, where are still inside, as you can see. Here's a great example. I just take those out as well and have this one in. So just have a listen to what happens. Now when we make a choke group like that, we have that hi-hat right now. This is this hi-hat. Let's play the whole thing back. Now there won't happen anything. Okay, it's muted, so we don't hear anything as well. So that's this hi-hat, right? When I now go to this one and put the hi-hat in the same spot, we cannot hear it, right? If I do it here, we hear it, but here we don't hear it. And when we take that one and put it in here, we cannot hear it as well, right? Now watch what happens the moment I start muting these. I mute this one, now we hear the other hi-hat, and I mute this one, and now we hear that one. See? I think this is a very important thing to know, and it's something that is not in the manual. It doesn't tell you. The order, what is muting what, seems to be going from the right to the left instead of the left to the right. And I am actually as I've tried this out in the first place, I got a bit confused what is actually muting what here. And in a situation where we create more complex patterns and everything, we might really want to know what is actually influencing the choking of the other tracks. And so this has an influence in how we actually organize our sounds on these subtracks. So when you set up these chokes for your own, you might need to think about the order in which you place them on these subtracks, because it's probably not so great if you have, for example, the open hi-hat here and the closed hi-hat here or something, and you put them into a choke group, and now the closed hi-hat would remove the open hi-hat. This is probably not what you want. And therefore, this is something very important to know about these choke groups. And I don't know why Elektron hasn't put that information into the manual just yet, but, well, that's just the way it goes right now. Okay, so that's about the choke groups. And the next thing I want to talk about is those page loops that we have available now. Now, I have a pattern right here with a melodic sound. Let's quickly mute the subtrack first. This is a melodic sound in here. Let's have a listen to this. As you can see, that one has a slightly longer pattern, and now a lot of times the situation can come up that we want to edit these patterns, and you have to switch through these pages right here. And let's say we want to put some additional notes in here and want to have a listen to how that sounds like in conjunction with the other thing. But we do not want to listen to the whole pattern and all the pages, all the bars that are on, but we want to focus on these things specifically to be able to edit those things a little bit better. Now we can do that by hitting the page button right here and doing the arrow. Now we can say loop pages, and now when we have that selected, so we have select page, where we can select the page we are on page number 6 right now. And now we go to loop page and I say, okay, I want to listen to the pattern from here to here, and only want to focus on those sections because I want to edit something in there. And I now let go of the page button, and now it loops those pages only. Have a listen. See? And I can easily do edits here. that sound good? Things like that. See? Voila. Does that sound good? Not necessarily. And whenever I want to go out of this again, because I'm now happy with my edits, I keep the page button pressed again and deactivate those two again. And now the pattern starts all over again. And I can listen to the result that I've created. Again, just a quick example of how these things work like, because that was something that I was really waiting for, and it's great to have that inside of the Tonverk now, which is really, really cool. And yeah, that's about the page looping. And now the other thing that we have available as well now are preparation mutes. So we can now prepare the mutes for our stuff that we want to do. So let's quickly go onto our Subtrack again right here and see, maybe change the pattern a little. And we have that kick right here. So let's, oh yeah, that's the different pattern length now. Let's actually extend this to 16 steps again. So we have our step length back. Now this is right here. Let's just quickly take those out. I just want to make a very simple pattern right now. Just like that. And actually unmute the whole thing again, because we're all muted now. Yeah. So now we can prepare mutes. First we go into the mute mode and I show you how that works. It's as easy as just keeping the function button pressed and preparing the mutes in just the way we want them. Let's have a look how that sounds like. So things like that, for example. And now I prepare these mutes and let go. Probably not so easy to, this was probably just a very simple example, so let's actually add in some others here as well. Just some random stuff and see how that goes like. No, it doesn't actually sound so well. Let's just do that. And let's maybe add a quick LFO to the modulation so that this, let's add a quick LFO to the volume so that this is not so annoying. And let's see. Also not so great, but yeah, just to have something to play with. And now preparation of these mutes is like just keeping the function button pressed and hitting those mutes, and when we let go, we are muted, and same thing like that, when we let go, we are unmuted again. So in a live jam situation, this can come in handy if you want to prepare some mutes and you have a lot of mutes, and yeah, just listen to how that, I just want to quickly show you how that works. It's like that. So I prepare all these and let go. Now only the kick is left. And now I do the same thing again. Yeah, just as a basic example of how that works like, you know. And that's also something that is very, very nice and handy in situations where we really have to rely on these mutes, and this can definitely help a lot in more complex tracks where you have all these other tracks running right here and everything's full here and all of that. And yeah, this saves you a lot of time. And by the way, this was also, I think it was also introduced in the song mode. I'm not really sure, but since I'm not using the song mode, I can also not tell something about that right now. I'm sorry. Okay, so now one other thing that I also wanted to mention is that we've changed the way we set up those patterns in general now. Throughout the video, you might have seen me changing different pattern lengths and everything, and there is a way to do that for all the patterns at once now, and if we create a new project, this is actually also the default. So when we have function and page setup, this is how it always worked with the Tonverk prior to OS 1.3.0. Now we have those individual pattern lengths, those individual track lengths, and when we have to set these pattern changes and how they should occur. We can now simplify that thing and change everything at once. So when we have function and yes, we get that. And this is basically the default how it works on the digiboxes. So we set the length of the pattern for all the tracks at once. And that way it's also the repetition of when that pattern should, after which steps the pattern should repeat, is also set that way. And so this is now the default setting when you create a new project. And so whenever we change lengths of the patterns right here, like this, let's crank it up to the max to show you what I mean. We do it like that and hit yes. All tracks are now of the same length, as you can see. This can come in handy if you have a little bit of issues with those individual with those individual track lengths and everything, but it's exactly how it works on the digiboxes. So this is a little bit more streamlined towards them now. And in that respect, there's also a new thing that is right here in the personalize menu, and this says page autocopy. Now, the way that, if you are familiar with Digitone, Digitect, and the analogs and everything, you know that whenever you make a copy, create a pattern with 16 steps only, and you then go into your page setup and extend the length of the pattern, you are always copying those steps over that are already there. And just reduced it to 16 steps again. And that is inside here as well now. And while we are at it, we have that remember sub page, which is also actually pretty cool because I ran into that issue a lot of times. With that option set, the Tonverk now remembers the sub pages on these individual tracks in just the way we had them before. So filter, for example, is a great example. Now I'm on that track and I want to be on the second filter page. When I now switch to somewhere in here or to another track or anything and come back and go in here, you can see I'm on the second page again. The default setting is not remembering the subpage, and so when I go in here and jump around, I'm back at the first page. You see that? Was that a little bit too fast? I will show you that again. So we are on the first filter page. Now I'm swapping around and everything. Go in here, we are on the first filter page again. Now I'm on the second filter page and I swap to another page, like so. And I'm not at the second filter page again, but at the first one. And so that's what we can change now when we have remember subpage active right here. Now when I'm on the second filter page and switch around and come back to the filter, I'm back again at the second page. This is particularly useful for the LFO section here. For example, I was working on that envelope section here and I switch to another thing, jump back and it's back there. So those are the quality of life improvements and everything. And now there is more to all of that stuff. We also have an additional kind of, we also have new audio routing options, which can also come in handy. So for example, when you have something connected to the inputs right here and you want to record that stuff straight through the same USB connection and straight into the same audio file, I had that issue before that this is not working and I wasn't hearing the inputs and everything. And now when I set the external audio input to out AB, if I would have something connected here and would record that straight via USB, it would be within that audio stream as well, which is also something that comes in handy. And same goes the other way around when you have audio coming from the USB input. But I haven't tested that out just yet. It's just that I know that it's there. Okay, so the video is already quite long again, so let's come to an end. Yeah, that were the things that I wanted to show you as well, beside the Wavefinder, which I already made a great video about. And now I think it's about time that I really start working on these patches for the Digitone again. Okay, thanks for watching, my friends, and I wish you a great time, and I see you soon. Bye.